Hello guys, just a quick video on should you use big or small brushes when you're painting. A lot of art teachers will say you should use the biggest brush that you can for a painting, um, and a lot of people struggle with that. And I think maybe you should consider using the smallest brush that you can when you start off. Um, Especially because you're probably really bad, and this way you'll waste less paint, and also you'll have less to clean up at the end once you realize that you failed, and you've given up. It'll just make life easier for you. Um, so I would say start with the smallest brush you can. Also, they're way cheaper, the smaller ones. And start with as little paint as you can. Um, because most likely the painting's just going to fail anyway. And you'll learn something from making all the little small marks. If you just take a big brush and start swooshing around, you know you're not going to learn from that. And so that's actually a good way to become an abstract artist, is to just sit with a little brush and make small little marks on the canvas. And it might seem like it's going to take a long time to do that. It should take a long time. You shouldn't even be, dabbing it on. You should be putting a stroke on and then letting it sit. Take a step back. Think about the things you've done wrong in your life. Think about them for a good while before you make another mark. It's probably the best way, I would say, if you want to become a serious abstract artist. That's how they worked. If you read art history books and journals, as I have, you'll know that, like, Mark Rothko made those monumental paintings, and people said, oh, he must have used big brushes or rollers even. No, it was all very small brushes, and he just didn't sleep. And every hour he would make one mark, and that's why his output is so remarkable. Remarkable. That's where that word comes from. When you make your mark, then you get remarkable. You get remarked on, and then you're remarkable. A lot of people don't know that. And so one of the reasons, now I know I should have brushes here to show you like the difference between big and small brushes, but I'm just not going to do that. I have a palette here, it's more comfortable to hold. And when you're using your very tiny brushes and you're thinking about what kind of marks to make, it is going to be tough, because eventually you'll realize you can only go up or down, left, right, or maybe throw in a diagonal, You can loop and swirl. You can do a really bad circle. You can do some drippy bits. That's one of the reasons I went back to doing figurative work, was that just got boring. And maybe I just fell out of sync with the headspace I was in before, when I used to be able to just get into my Mark Rothko, my inner Rothko. But anyway, no, probably the best advice is actually to use the biggest brush possible to still make the shape that you're trying to make. Which, if the shape is small, you're still going to need a small brush. If the shape is medium-sized, try and use a large brush. That's the kind of the way you want to do it. And just test out the mark making on something before you put it onto the canvas, and you'll get a judge for what kind of brush you should be using. But what they're trying to say is to push yourself to use a slightly larger brush than you think you need. If you do that, um, it'll just add a bit of freshness to the paint and to your work when you're trying to get in really tight. Um, it's not going to have that, and you're just not going to get a good mark and a good flow of the paint, which is going to actually be more important than getting it really tight, because the first thing you should be doing is just trying to cover the entire surface of the support with a layer of paint. So that's another reason for using the big brushes. If you're using a big brush for a while, then you'll get more control, and you'll get more accurate with it. So what your goal kind of would be, if you're thinking of going in with a brush that needs to make something that's long and skinny, you'll be able to flip a brush like a flat brush on its side and be able to do it like that. You'll learn different things when you use a bigger brush, rather than if you're trying to use a little rigger. And so what you want to have, you'll be like, you'll just get surgical with it. Like in Training Day, Denzel Washington has the big shotgun, and he says, "I'm surgical with this bitch." You get surgical with that bitch when you use the big brush.